Super awkward Funcast. You're listening to the Super Awkward Funcast. Yeah. Hello and welcome to the delayed apologies 55th episode of the Super Awkward Funcast with your hostess, Elle Latham. I am a little late going because we waited for the verdict in a very big trial that I've been covering, if you've been paying attention, which is the Johnny Depp trial, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard defamation trial. And I talked about it a little bit in the last episode, and I'll talk about it a lot of it now in this one, now that it's all said and done. So basically what happened was the jury found both parties liable for defamation statements, defamatory statements made by Heard and Waldman, respectively. So Adam Waldman was an agent, or found to be an agent of Johnny Depp, or basically his lawyer, at the time that he made some statements about the hoax that had originated with Amber Heard and her friends regarding getting the money for the divorce settlement and faking the domestic abuse allegation. That she came forward about and had put in her op-ed, which was in the Washington Post, as you recall. And so her statements were found by the jury on 3 counts to be defamatory across the board. And then her statement that she was counterclaiming about from Adam Waldman in the Daily Mail, count 2 was found to be a defamatory statement, which I feel is fair because it regarded the friends knowingly setting up the hoax along with Amber Heard and calling the cops and having them come twice in one night. There's just not enough evidence to prove that those statements were true. So regardless of maliciousness, although I do think it was malicious, he was found to be malicious in his statements, which is why there was a compensatory damage elected to Heard. So basically, was it? Yeah, it was compensatory. Hello. Okay, so what happened there is that they didn't prove in court with the evidence that was presented. You couldn't really come to a conclusion that the friends were participating and there was a conspiracy among them in the way that it was presented in this defamatory statement. Allegedly it's not really alleged if it's in court. Okay, it's defamatory. So it had expressed, what does it say? What does it say here? I was just over there getting that information, and then I will put it right here. This is the verdict, so you guys can hear.
All right, Mr. Foreperson, is this the verdict of the jury?
Yes.
All right, is it unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Jamie?
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, "Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change," in the Washington Post online edition. Quote, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change," end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp. Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false. Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp. Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard. Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp. Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven, by clear and convincing evidence, that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 2. As to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled "A Transformative Moment for Women" in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, in the Washington Post online edition. Quote, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven, by a greater weight of the evidence, that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven, by clear and convincing evidence, that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3. As to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled "A Transformative Moment for Women" in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, in the Washington Post online edition. Quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven, by a greater weight of the evidence, that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of this statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven, by clear and convincing evidence, that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Ms. Heard's claim against Mr. Depp. 1. As to this statement, appearing in the April 8, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no.
Nope.
2. As to this statement appearing in the April 27th, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt did not do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Fair.
Has Ms. Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published the statement? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was seen by someone other than Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven, by clear and convincing evidence, that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3. As to this statement, appearing in the April 27th, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, we've reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no.
Nope.
As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
$0.
Does either side wish to have the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Jamie?
Members of the jury, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Juror number 6. Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16.
Yes.
Juror number 22.
Yes.
Juror number 27. Juror number 29.
Yes.
All right. I do find that the jury's verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your service in this case. I want to thank you again for your dedication and your hard work during this trial. And I know I speak for everybody here when I tell you that we appreciate your sacrifices and your time and your public service in this matter, okay? So
Yes,
I'm going to
thank
have
you
to go
to
back to
them.
the jury deliberation
Oh
room
my
for
gosh.
one more time, and then we'll release you from there, okay? All right, thank you.
And that's the reason that this is late. This episode is late because I was waiting today to happen. I had a feeling that the verdict would be out today. I had a very good feeling about it. I didn't think it would be past Thursday, or then we'd be looking at a hung jury situation. But I feel that I got this trial correct. I think I saw the defamation case made on the Johnny Depp side, and I saw the defamation case made on her side. I didn't agree with hers. I had forgotten that there was an element of that wasn't really proven in court. So fair enough that count number 2, and how fitting that it's number 2 with Amber Heard. But fair enough that is the one that she got lucky on, because that was maliciously said, I believe, and also false because it could not be proven. And anything that cannot be proven has to be false, unfortunately. So, I mean, that's how it works. So, I thought it was really interesting that they gave her money I think it was because this is my speculation entirely, but they would want her not to appeal the decision. So they found in favor of both parties so that one would not appeal and get us into one of these again, because that's not what any of us need. So hopefully she'll just go walk away with her little money, very little money, and just deal with her shit and get some help, because that's what she needs. In other news, there was a press conference with a lot of fanfare outside of the courthouse with Johnny Depp's team, and they spoke. So let's see how they reacted to the news of the liability of Amber Heard in the defamation case. It's Camille, Vasquez, and Ben Chu. They're superstars now. The legal team. And yes, she was in the courtroom pretending to cry again.
Hi, everyone. Today's verdict confirms what we have said from the beginning, that the claims against Johnny Depp are defamatory and unsupported by any evidence. We are grateful, so grateful to the jury for their careful deliberation, to the judge and the court staff who have devoted an enormous amount of time and resources towards this case.
Our judicial system is predicated on each person's right to have his or her case heard, and we were honored, truly honored, to assist Mr. Depp in ensuring that his case was fairly considered throughout the trial. We are also most pleased that the trial has resonated for so many people in the public who value truth and justice. Now that the jury has reached its conclusive verdict, it's time to turn the page and look to the future. Thank you all so much, and thanks to the jury.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, there's the end of that. Like, that's the end of such a big journey, a long journey that I've endured since I heard about this case. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was in 2020. It was 2 years plus ago. And I was made aware of this hoax that had happened with Amber Heard against Johnny Depp. And at the very beginning, I had tweeted, like, you know, their marriage was toxic or whatever. I'm glad that they're away from each other, blah, blah, blah. So that was the extent of what I said at that point. And I was like, okay, bye, you know, like, good that they're not together anymore. And then later when I found out more information, I was like, it looks like she abused him. But I had never made any public statements. This isn't about me or whatever. But, like, I would never make public statements about someone in that way without any evidence at all. So when I made public statements, and I have, about Joe Biden and his proclivities, it was with backed up, like, camera footage of him sexually harassing children and touching them without their permission. So if I say something, I usually back it up. And this is just another note that, you know what, if you say something, you should back it up, or you should say alleged. You should not time your article, your op-ed, with the release date of your big film that supposedly, according to Depp, he had helped her get the role in, or the role that would end up being in that film. But anyway, after all the lies that have been told in court and all of the bullshit that we've had to sift through in the last 6 weeks, I'm just glad that it's finally over. 6 weeks trial for a 6-year debacle. Like, it was 6 years of bullshit. And now we've, you know, as a society, can move on And I think we should, but like, I think we should also focus on what was important about this case. It's not the celebrity status of the people involved. It's not the money involved, although that did help get them the representation that they had. It's that abuse knows no gender. Anyone can be abusive, and there are far more people like Amber Heard than people would like to admit in society. And that's what resonated with a lot of people, that they have met people with the same tendencies, the same violent streaks, same mental problems when it comes to borderline personality disorder or histrionic personality disorder, bipolar, whatever she was diagnosed with and was seeking treatment for. The key also is addiction is a big deal, and it's not something that can be used against someone in the way that it was in this trial to excuse behavior from the other person or to pretend things happened that did not happen and are not followed up with evidence. There's just no evidence. That's what it comes down to. The evidence was not on her side. The evidence was ultimately on his side and the side of the truth. And that's the side I cared about the most. Because I have been abused myself. And I won't go too deep into that, but this trial opened up a lot of memories, a lot of flashback memories of my childhood and my young adulthood when the abuse was occurring. I was abused for 5 years straight, basically, by a close family member. And I will not talk about their name or anything, but they know that they did that, and they have apologized in recent years, and I had forgiven them after a lot of deliberation and mental suffering and, back and forth on it. Like, should I not? It was good to at least have the truth. That's what it all comes down to. People do not understand how important the truth is. To have the truth told to you for the first time since you've been abused. To have them corroborate everything that you thought that happened. And to say it to your face. And you know what? Johnny Depp is never going to have that. She's never going to own up to what she did. So I may feel a certain way about my abuser, but at least he had the balls to come forward and apologize and acknowledge what he had done, which certain people with certain personality disorders apparently cannot do. So, and this dude is a psycho, a self-described psychopath. He has called himself a psychopath, my abuser. And I do believe he had psychopathic tendencies. There were a lot of signs when he was a child, when he would perform experiments on little creatures and stuff. So, insects and whatnot. And so at least he has the guts to admit what he did and to apologize and seek forgiveness. I don't see that happening with people like Amber Heard. I don't see them ever owning up to it. And it's unfortunate that throughout this whole experience, this 6-year journey that she's been on, which is a long time to keep up a lie, she has never once accepted accountability for her actions, which have been defamatory, which have been borderline illegal. Like, she has perjured herself on the stand multiple times, with evidence coming back to, show that she was lying. So it's just unfortunate that there is some win here, yes, but ultimately she learned nothing, which is unfortunate. And then the fact that she can still try and victimize herself. So let's go over the statements that they have released since then. Starting with her. Oh shit, I just realized I did not have that up anymore. So I'm going to put it up on put my Twitter up. Damn it. I had already read this previously to a person, and now I have lost the stuff that I was going to read. But why, when I put my name in a search engine, does it come up with IMDb and not Twitter? Like, make it make sense. When I'm putting I put at Elle Latham and it's not showing my Twitter. It's so weird. Anyways, go into the Twitter. Okay. God damn it. Well, anyways, here she is. Here's her stupid ass statement. While I'm getting her stupid ass statement, I'll get his statement. Shit. Oh, I can do that on my phone. I can read on my phone, right? Anyway, she put out a very poorly worded, written statement. And she said, "The disappointment I feel today," this is Amber Heard's statement, sorry. "The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the mountain of evidence," which I never saw, but alright, "still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. I'm even more disappointed with what this verdict means for other women." See, you gotta put other women in it because you're not enough, because we all know you're lying. "It is a setback." And people are repeating this. "It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could be publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. I believe Johnny's attorneys succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech," in all caps, and not all caps, but like capitalized, "and ignore evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK." Well, that's the UK, babe. We're not in the UK anymore. UK has different laws, has different rules. Some of the evidence that we saw in this trial was not admissible in the UK because they have such strict rules in court. So, not the same thing. Then she says, "I'm sad I lost this case." Yeah, we know. "But I am sadder still that I seem to have lost a right I thought I had as an American to speak freely and openly." You can speak as much as you want, as freely as you want, as openly as you want. You just can't defame people. That's just the law, babe. So, we have that, and then we have a very different statement from the winner of the case, which is Johnny Depp. And he goes into the history of this case and everything, and it's all typewritten, it seems, so it's a little more put together. So he says on Instagram, because hers was on Instagram and Twitter, but he's not on Twitter, so he put it on Instagram. So he says, 6 years ago, my life, the life of my children, the lives of those closest to me, and also the lives of the people who for many, many years have supported and believed in me, were forever changed, all in the blink of an eye. False, very serious, and criminal allegations were levied at me via the media, which triggered an endless barrage of hateful content, although no charges were ever brought against me. It had already traveled around the world twice within a nanosecond, and it had a seismic impact on my life and my career. And 6 years later, the jury gave me my life back. I am truly humbled. My decision to pursue this case, knowing very well the height of the legal hurdles that I would be facing and the inevitable worldwide spectacle into my life, was only made after considerable thought. From the very beginning, the goal of bringing this case was to reveal the truth, regardless of the outcome. Speaking the truth was something that I owed to my children and to all those who have remained steadfast in their support of me. I feel at peace knowing I I feel at peace knowing I have finally accomplished that. And then the second part is, I am and have been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and the colossal support and kindness from around the world. I hope that my quest to have the truth be told will have helped others, men or women, who have found themselves in my situation, and that those supporting them never give up. I also hope that the position will now return to innocent until proven guilty, both within the courts and in the media. I wish to acknowledge the noble work of the judge, the jurors, the court staff, and the sheriffs who have sacrificed their own time to get to this point, and to my diligent and unwavering legal team who did an extraordinary job in helping me to share the truth. The best is yet to come, and a new chapter has finally begun. Sorry. Let me try again. The best is yet to come, and a new chapter has finally begun. Veritas nunc perit. Truth never perishes. UK 22:6:1. So, Johnny Depp. So that's his statement. There was a time during the trial where they put out opposing statements, and then they got in trouble in court, and they were like, no more PR. No more PR. Not allowed. But anyway, now we're here today. So this is 2+ years of journey to get to this point, and a lot of the people who testified for Johnny Depp are still in his life, and he still counts them as friends, and a lot of the people who testified for Heard are not. So make of that what you will. But yeah, it's been a long, arduous journey, and I'm glad that we've reached the end. I'm glad that both parties get to move on, and I hope that one of them makes the most of their time and really does some self-reflection. Like, all I want for people is to be true to themselves. You know, as long as you're not a war criminal, you're not beyond empathy, you know. And there are all these, like, Amber Turd, yes, me poo, these silly hashtags, silly troll accounts and stuff, and people who want bad things for her. I don't want her to be miserable. I do not want her to be abused. I don't want anyone to be abused. I don't want her to abuse others. I don't want her child to suffer anything from this. I mean, I can imagine how embarrassing it would be in the future for that child to see this case and have it, you know, saved for on the internet for anyone to see later on. I feel bad that the child is even in her care, to be honest, because I don't think she should be a mother. Because if you can't even handle your own shit, how are you going to handle someone else's? And also, she just cares too much about herself that I don't even know what the priority is of that child in her life. And I won't name the child, but she does have a child. We don't know who the daddy is, but we kind of know who the daddy is, but we kind of don't know who the daddy is. And I don't really care who the daddy is, but I want everybody to be safe. I don't want any more abuse. I know that both parties came from an abusive household, and I know how that is. And I just wouldn't wish that on anyone. And I don't wish pain or schadenfreude or anything on anyone. Like, I'm not into the schadenfreude. It wasn't about that for me. It was always about the truth, and now we know the truth. So I'm glad that we know the truth. I won't be watching Aquaman 2 because I'm just not an Aquaman person. And also, she just wasn't it in the first one. Like, I've seen little bits and pieces. Basically, the thing is, with her, she's just not that good of an actor. Like, it just comes down to that. Like, sweetie, you got the looks, I guess, and you got the sexiness, but I don't know if you got the chops. So maybe that's something she could work on while she's working on herself, and maybe that has something to do with how she's treating herself and how she ignores certain aspects of her personality to her detriment. Maybe that's something she needs to work on. She needs to get a therapist and work it all out. That's none of my affair. I'm not involved in her mental health, but she needs to get it fixed. She needs to work on it. Everybody should work as much as they possibly can on bettering themselves and improving their quality of life. That's just it, you know. That's for anyone. I don't care how famous you are. You need some self-care. So, there you go. In other news, there was another trial that I was looking at, and another verdict came out. You don't know that I was looking at this trial unless you have been watching my show, Fearlessly Authentic, on Sundays with Lucky, Burrito. I co-host it. Sometimes I do Thursdays. I did the last Thursday one. So I did an update on the Sussmann trial. I didn't do anything about the verdict, but the verdict is in on that one, and it's not surprising because this was a very highly political trial put together by John Durham and his team. I'm guessing he's pro-Trump, anti-Hillary for sure, anti-Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton's former, I don't know if he's former, her lawyer, Michael Sussmann, was indicted for lying to the FBI essentially about not working on behalf of his client in getting information to the FBI regarding Russian ties to the presidential candidate, Donald Trump, in 2016. So it was like September 19, 2016. There was a meeting. Jim Baker testified. He was sort of for the prosecution, but sort of for the defense. This was a criminal trial, by the way. So there's different, it's a plaintiff and defendant for a civil trial, which would be the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing. And then the criminal trial is defendant and prosecution and defense. So yeah, the defense being, the legal team for Sussmann. So Sussmann claimed that he was doing it just for, getting that information out there on the Russian ties to Trump through an Alpha Bank, this Russian bank, which was tweeted about by Hillary Clinton herself, and Robbie Mook had implied or said that Hillary Clinton, who was her aide at the time, had said that she had requested that information go to the FBI. So it was her behest that Michael Sussmann went forward with that information. He said that he wasn't going there on behalf of a client. He had a weird tie to Twitter for some reason, had a Twitter chart for some reason, and also had tie to the FBI in terms of he had clearance to get into FBI headquarters and stuff, or have FBI facilities. It was very strange. The whole thing was very strange. Showed how corrupt the government is to the core, including the FBI. They didn't look that good either here in this trial, but the government was the prosecutor. So we had to be on the side of the FBI in order to find Sussmann guilty, which was never going to happen. I was never going to have that. I was never going to be that person to say that. But they did have a stronger case in my view, but they did also fuck everything up in the jury selection when they accepted Hillary phone bankers and Hillary supporters into the jury. So in the jury pool. So there was a lot of rigging going on seems every side, and this was just a show trial. Except it wasn't even a show because no one got to see it because it's federal. You don't get to see federal trials. Or is that true? Is this a federal trial? I mean, I figure if the FBI is involved, it would be federal, and they probably wouldn't want people to see their faces and stuff. So maybe, yeah, I think this would be considered a federal trial because the government is the prosecutor. Yeah. So anyway, to do a little recap of that, we have our gentleman lawyer, Sir Robert Gouveia, on the YouTube, and he does a little recap of what happened with the verdict. Not guilty, by the way, is the verdict. He was found not guilty by a mostly Hillary-specific, leaning kind of jury in Washington, D.C. They were already fucked because it's Washington, but it is what it is. So, yeah, so he'll explain a little bit in the beginning of this video, and I'll link it below in the show notes.
The stream to fire up all across the fruited plains of the internet. because we've got some news that we've got to dissect today. But before we do, we got to make sure that the stream is functioning. And it looks like the connections may have been connected. And so we can get started. Let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Scottsdale, Arizona. And today we've got some bad verdict news. Michael Sussmann, not guilty. What? Are you serious? Did they watch the same trial that we watched? Have they been following along the same things that we've been following? Well, of course they have. But they're Democrats, and so they protect their own. And they did that today when the jury rendered a verdict on Verdict Watch Day 1 in like record time, less than 6 hours. They had 2 full weeks of testimony, and they just needed a few minutes just to really kind of get a look at this. You're a Democrat, right? You're voting not guilty? You not guilty? How about you? Not guilty? I'm
Pretty much.
Obviously. Of course I'm not guilty. I voted in the primary for Hillary. And so there was a big sort of, round table of the jurors. We got a record time not guilty. And it's really not actually that surprising.
Exactly.
I was sort of thinking a lot
I
about
agree.
this. My gut from day one was always, man, this jury is really, really bad. And today, there's going to be a lot of conversation about why this happened and what does this mean and what's John Durham going to do and is there anything that can happen moving forward, and we're going to go through all the questions and do all the heavy lifting. But we are going to start by really sort of recognizing what this is all about. In one lawyer's humble opinion, that happens to be me. You're going to see people talking about materiality, and you're going to talk about whether this was a white lie or not, or whether there was a big conspiracy, or whether there were some bad rulings that Judge Cooper made that really resulted in this verdict, or was it the jury instructions? Was it that good faith exception? What's going on here? They're Democrats, okay? That's what this comes down to. And so I want to start this off by a quick refresher on the type of jury that we're dealing with. And this is not just sort of a political rant or a political tirade, although it may be that as well. But this is reality, right? Lawyers have to think about this. What jurisdictions are they in? Some different jurisdictions are more favorable to, say, personal injury verdicts, while other jurisdictions will laugh at you if you try to bring a personal injury claim. There are some courts in Arizona that we do not want to go to trial in because the judge is a lunatic. There are others where it's a very favorable jurisdiction or the prosecutors are pretty good, and so we have to make a decision, yes or no, based on the jurisdiction. And so that absolutely went into the equation here. Michael Sussmann and his defense team were having this very conversation with their clients. And all of this is now coming to fruition. But this is where I want to start. This happened in Washington, D.C., the D.C. Circuit Court. And this is what it looks like if you take a look at the demographics over there. I went over to 270towin.com. And it tells us the District of Columbia, the only non-state to be enfranchised for presidential elections. And of course, we're talking about a presidential election in this trial. And remember, this is a trial about Michael Sussmann, of course, but it turned into something much bigger. It was the idea that Michael Sussmann was acting on behalf of Hillary Clinton. And Robbie Moog told us that. She was the person who approved the leaking of the story to the media at the very beginning. Before this all went public, Hillary Clinton signed off on it. And so, yes, this turned into something that was a political trial. No doubt about it. Michael Sussmann was acting on behalf of Hillary. He was hired by her, and he was doing her work. So when the defense makes the argument, or I should say when the prosecution is asking jurors if they had a problem with Donald Trump and they said yes, that's a problem for this trial. Because this trial, if it hurts Hillary, then it helps Trump. And if it's bad for Trump, it's good for Hillary. There's an inverse relationship there. And if you're a Democrat, and you're through and through a Democrat, you're blue as can be, you don't want to vote against your own team, do you? And if anybody is doubting this, if there's a conversation about this sort of being overly political, what happens if we just switch the team? What happens if we just made it Republicans instead of Democrats? What if we put Michael Sussmann with a big red MAGA hat on him and sent him through this whole trial? Would you be okay with his activities if he was a Republican? I doubt it. Would you be okay with what he did with the meeting with James Baker, or all of the colluding, all of the text messages, if it were a Republican? I doubt it. And so, of course, it's political. And the reason why it went the way that it did, in my humble opinion, is just because of this. Over in Washington, D.C., we're talking about Hillary and Donald Trump, and this is how they have voted in the last some presidential elections. In 2020, 92% Democrats, according to 270towin.com. 2016, the election that we're talking about here, 90.9%, 91% Democrats. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? If you're a Democrat there and you're like a loud, active Democrat fighting the Democratic fight, you're going to get a pretty favorable jury. And so this is really, in my opinion, what this whole thing comes down to. You take a look at this, it's very consistent. And as we talked about on this channel for many, many weeks now, the selection of the jury was very problematic. And so for those of you who are not familiar with this, we were able to go through this and tease out the jurors. This is the mind map, which is available down in the link tree description, in the description below. But these were the jurors that we were sort of concerned about. And we don't know what the final makeup was because it's federal court. We don't get to see anything. And they were playing this game of musical chairs. Here, we can see that we had several different jurors who were, in my opinion, problematic for the prosecution, but very beneficial for the defense. We had this person, 0586, Treasury Department employee, and a DNC Democratic primary donor, literally donated to Democrats. We had another person who was a lawyer, also a Hillary donor, and this person didn't remember really whether she had actually funded 2016 a presidential candidate or whether it was 2020, but she said if she had done it, it would have been for Hillary. And then lastly, we saw 0517, which was a woman who works at the Smithsonian, has a strong dislike for Trump, said that she could not be unbiased if it were Trump or someone on her team. So let's pull this one up specifically, and let me sort of illustrate a point that I was trying to make earlier, perhaps inartfully. But this was the actual sort of close-up. I'm having a difficult time with my screens here today. Here you can see it says, Mr. Keelty says, a juror, you talked about 2016. Obviously people have strong feelings about that, right? Yes. You answered that you strongly dislike Trump. And she said, and? Like, what's your point? Doesn't everybody here hate Trump? And he said, and that you're not sure you could be impartial. And she said, yeah, if this was someone on his team or something. So the prosecutor said, so this is not neither Mr. Trump nor Clinton are on trial here. You'll hear their names, but they're not on trial. And it's like, that's true, but they kind of are on trial. Right? Donald Trump is sort of the subject of this. Michael Sussmann was doing what he did to try to take out Donald Trump. And this is why the defense was saying Putin, Putin, Putin. And Putin was connected with Trump. And that's why all of this was so dangerous. This was a national security issue. And everybody was so freaked out.
Okay, so that's just a smidgen of that video. Again, I'll link it below. So those are the trials that are currently being spoken about a lot in the press. The next one, or the next court proceeding that I will be following, is, of course, the Ghislaine Maxwell sentencing, which will be very interesting. Let's see what's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell. We'll just put her in the little search engine here. There we go. Not Google, because fuck Google. And here we go. So, okay, they're talking about Kevin Spacey in the beginning. Yes, Kevin Spacey and Ghislaine Maxwell are connected. And yes, he has been charged on 4 counts of sexual assault against a male in the UK. So that happened very recently. So a week ago, we have a fact check. Ghislaine Maxwell scheduled to be sentenced in late June after sex trafficking conviction. From USA Today. So yeah, that's June 28th. It's coming up very soon. So the next time that I do a podcast will be after the sentencing, and I can talk about it then. So, there's no new news about Ghislaine Maxwell? I find that hard to believe. But apparently there isn't, so that's fun. Anyway, that's coming up, so stay tuned for that. No new news on Ghislaine Maxwell apparently, so interesting. And What else? Put that in the thing. Oh, I'm not doing anything with that. COVID news. So COVID is still happening. We don't need masks, so that's good, I guess. Drop something. So the mask mandates are not coming back, it seems like. In my state, in my city, they're not really coming back. Oh, wait a minute. I found something. Source claimed that Prince Andrew's friend hated the late Princess Diana with passion. Okay, that's not important. Anyway, so basically, the vaccine people, the big pharma people, are still trying to sell their vaccines to us. And that includes Pfizer, which has now put in an application for a COVID vaccine in kids under 5, clearing the way for a June timeline, according to the ABC News article that I have up by Jesse DiMartino, the video, and by Mary Kikatos. June 1st, 2022. So that was today, 6:11 p.m. Pfizer's vaccine for kids under 5 is 80% effective against symptomatic COVID. Pfizer announced Wednesday that it has completed its application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for a 3-dose COVID-19 vaccine in children aged 6 months to under 5 years old, and the federal agency has accepted the application. Pfizer and BioNTech completed a rolling application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for emergency use authorization, again we don't need it, but whatever, of the 3 microgram dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for children 6 months through 4 years of age. They will not give up on these children, on getting these children on this drug, on this injection schedule. Also referred to as 6 months to under 5 years of age. On June 1st, 2022, company said in a statement. The FDA said in a statement that it received Pfizer's request for an EUA. We recognize parents are anxious to have their young children vaccinated against COVID-19, and while the FDA cannot predict how long its evaluation of the data and information will take, we will review any EUA request we receive as quickly as possible using a science-based approach, the agency said. Last month, Pfizer announced its vaccine for younger children was 80% effective against symptomatic COVID-19, and I don't believe that for a minute, but anyway. However, the company said this estimate is preliminary and is subject to change as more data is collected. The FDA's independent advisory panel, Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, is planning public hearings in mid-June to discuss both Pfizer's and Moderna's vaccines in younger children. The FDA said Wednesday it would hold a VRBPAC meeting on June 15th to discuss both Pfizer and Moderna's EUA requests for this population 6 months through 4 years old for Pfizer and 6 months through 5 years old for Moderna. Moderna asked the FDA to authorize its 2-dose vaccine for children under age 6 on April 28th. During the Omicron surge, the company said its vaccine was 51% effective against infection, including asymptomatic and mild infection among those aged 6 months to under age 2, and 37% effective for those aged 2 to 5. If the FDA decides to authorize vaccines for younger children after the hearing and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, so independent advisors agree, it could mean vaccines could be available for those under 5 years old by the end of June. So while you're focused on all this other shit, it's shooting season. We got a bunch of shooters. We got a bunch of mass killings with guns. Gun control is back on the menu for something to talk about. We did abortion for a while. Now we're doing gun control. We'll be back to abortion eventually. Don't you worry. While that's all going on, they're trying to get your children to get this ineffective treatment. This gene therapy that hardly works on adults. And we've seen adults recently come out and say that they've gotten this stuff again for like the 3rd time. They got 3 boosters, or two boosters in the first shot. However that works. I don't even know. The primary series and then another one and then another one. Like there's 4 fucking people. There's 4 fucking vaccines now. But they got them all, and somehow they weren't able to block the transmission, which again, Bill Gates has said in the WEF, which we're not going on over here that much because we went over it in like forever ad nauseum on the Fearlessly Authentic. Please watch it. On there, we had Bill Gates come out and he was saying, well, we need vaccines that actually work on transmission. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? And then also, they are saying mild symptoms. Oh, I have mild symptoms, but at least I'm not in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Well, you probably wouldn't be anyway, because there's like less than 2% chance of you dying from this thing, no matter what. And even less chance now, because the more strains there are, the less deadly it gets. That's how science is. That's science works. So anyway, so you see what they're doing right now is trying to get your children again. So keep your children safe. And then they're going to try and put those vaccine mandates back together and, you know, focus on that. That's going to be the focus. So anyway, Pfizer shots are 3 micrograms each, 1/10 the dose offered to adults, while Moderna shots are 25 micrograms each, 1/4 of its adult size dose. Although children under 5 are the last age group for which vaccines need to be approved, polls suggest there could be sluggish uptake. An April 2022 poll from the Kaiser Family Foundation found that only 18% of parents plan to vaccinate their kids under age 5 right away once the vaccine is authorized. Many are hesitant, with 27% saying they will definitely not get their children in this age group vaccinated, and 11% saying only if it is required for school. The remaining 38% say they want to wait and see before getting their young children vaccinated. So most people are just like, wait, what the fuck? Like, we can wait on that. We don't need to do that right now. That's fine. But this is something we need to be concerned about because COVID ain't going away. They'll stop talking about it for a little while in the press. You know, they'll talk about other things. But it's still on the menu. Like, we still have to talk about it. Eventually. We can't keep our guard down. Like, that's not going to work. So we're going to wrap up pretty soon. Damn, we got Ukraine news, of course. We already talked about shooting season. We don't have to talk about that anymore. Although, there is a shooting that happened just recently that we can cover a little bit. They're covering it all the time. These shootings keep happening every day. And in some city or another, they'll talk about it on the social media, in the media. It seems to be that there's an epidemic going on, which is really interesting, what with midterms happening. But I am just an asshole, so ignore me. Just an asshole. So let me be an asshole and go look at the stuff about Ukraine. So here's the new Ukraine news. All right, so latest news about Ukraine. So US and Germany are agreeing to supply advanced weapons to Ukraine. Advanced weapons being rockets. Because yay. By John Leicenster and Frank Jordans from an hour ago on AP. So this is an AP article. Kyiv, Ukraine. The US and Germany pledged on Wednesday to equip Ukraine with some of the advanced weapons it has long desired for shooting down aircraft and knocking out artillery, as Russian forces closed in on capturing a key city in the east. Germany said it will supply Ukraine with up-to-date anti-aircraft missiles and radar systems, while the U.S. announced it will provide 4 sophisticated medium-range rocket systems and ammunition. The U.S. is trying to help Ukraine fend off the Russians without triggering a wider war in Europe, because why would they do that? Like, they hate war, right? Ugh. It's in their best interest to stop the war, right? For sure. The Pentagon said it received assurances that Ukraine will not fire the new rockets into Russian territory. You know what? They're not going to do anything with it. Come on, like, just leave. They'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just leave them be. The Kremlin accused the U.S. of pouring fuel on the fire. Why would they ever do that? I would never expect that of this country at all. Western arms have been critical to Ukraine's and Nazis. in Ukraine's success in stymieing Russia's much larger and better equipped military, thwarting its efforts to storm the capital and forcing Moscow to shift its focus to the industrial Donbass region in the east. But as Russia bombards towns in its inching advance in the east, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly pleaded for more and better weapons and accused the West of moving too slowly because he's an asshole and he just wants more drugs, right? This is all for the drugs, right? The coke. He does coke, right? Like, I'm not crazy. Anyway, Andriy Yermak, the head of the Ukrainian president's office, hailed the new Western weapons. Well, yeah, you got what you wanted. I'm sure that if we receive all the necessary weapons and strengthen the efficient sanctions regime, we will win, he said. The new arms could help Ukraine set up and hold new lines of defense in the east by hitting back at Russian military artillery pieces that have been battering towns and cities, and by limiting Russian airstrikes, said retired French General Dominique Trinquant, a former head of France's military mission at the United Nations. The NATO countries, the European nations, and the Americans have progressively escalated the means that they are putting at Ukraine's disposal, and this escalation, in my opinion, has had the aim of testing Russian limits, he said. Each time they measure the Russian reaction, and since there is no reaction, they keep supplying increasingly effective and sophisticated weaponry. But what happens when there's a reaction, though? Like, are we not going to ask that? We don't care? Okay, cool. Military analysts say Russia is hoping to overrun the Donbass before any weapons that might turn the tide arrive. It will take at least 3 weeks to get the precision U.S. weapons and trained troops onto the battlefield. Are they trained by the Nazis? I wonder. But Defense Undersecretary Colin Kahl said he believes they will arrive in time to make a difference in the fight. So the Pentagon said the above. The rocket systems are a part of a new $700 million package of security assistance for Ukraine from the U.S. that also includes helicopters, Javelin anti-tank weapons systems, radars, tactical vehicles, spare parts, and more. There's always more money for war. War is the chest that is always open. We have a war chest. We do not have a medical health care chest. We do not have a school, relieving school, medical and student debt. We don't have that. We don't have those chests, but we have a war chest, don't you worry, and your money is going towards it. Everything that you pay for is going to go straight to the Nazis in Ukraine. Good luck. So it says here, the rockets have a range of about 50 miles, 80 kilometers, and are highly mobile. Ukraine had pushed unsuccessfully for rockets with a range of up to 186 miles. We can't go that far, 300 kilometers. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov and Moscow does not trust assurances that Ukraine will not fire on Russian territory, and I don't think they should. We believe that the U.S. is deliberately and diligently pouring fuel on the fire, he said. Colonel General Mikhail Mizintsev later went even further, directly accusing Ukraine of planning to fire U.S.-provided missiles from the northeastern Sumy region at border areas in Russia. The claim, based on alleged radio intercepts, couldn't be independently confirmed. So it doesn't exist. It's not a thing that happened. Okay. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Ukraine's push for more weapons is a direct provocation intended to draw the West into the fighting. He warned that the multiple rocket launchers would raise the risk of an expanded conflict. And I think that's kind of the point, but yeah. Sane Western politicians understand those risks well, he said. Do we have any sane politicians in the West? I don't know. I would say we don't, but moving on. Germany's promise of Iris-T air defense systems would mark the first delivery of long-range air defense weapons to Ukraine since the start of the war. earlier deliveries of portable shoulder-fired air defense missiles have bolstered the Ukrainian military's ability to take down helicopters and other low-flying aircraft, but didn't give it enough range to challenge Russia's air superiority. Germany has come under particular criticism, both at home and from allies abroad, that it isn't doing enough. You're just not doing enough, Olaf. Olaf Scholz, who attended the WEF as well, or did a speech at the WEF, World Economic Forum meeting, annual 2022, during May 22nd to May 26th of this year. Okay. He told lawmakers that the IRIS-T's surface-to-air missiles are the most modern and air defense system the country has. With this, we will enable Ukraine to defend an entire city from Russian air attacks, he said. The radar systems will also help Ukraine locate enemy artillery. The weapons announcements came as a regional governor said Russian forces now control 80% of, here we go, fun pronunciation time, Severodonetsk, a city that is key to Moscow's efforts to complete its capture of the Donbass, where Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed separatists have fought for years and where the separatists held swaths of territory even before the invasion. I think they mean the Nazis. The Azov battalion have been going at it with them. Luhansk Governor Serhiy Haidai, said Russian troops were advancing in the city amid fierce street battles with Ukrainian forces, or Nazis, though he noted that in some districts the Ukrainian troops managed to push the Russians back. The only other city in Luhansk that the Russians have not yet captured, Lysychansk, is still fully under Ukrainian control, he said, but is likely to be next. If the Russians manage to take full control over Severodonetsk, within 2 to 3 days, they will start installing artillery and mortars and will shell Lysychansk, more intensively, Haidai said. Zelensky, meanwhile, said the country is losing between 60 and 100 soldiers a day in the fighting. In southern Ukraine, a regional governor sounded a more positive note, saying Russian troops are retreating and blowing up bridges behind them. They are afraid of a counterattack by the Ukrainian army, Vitaly Kim, governor of the Mykolaiv region, said on the Telegram messaging app. Okay then. And Jordan's, one of the authors of this article, is reporting from Berlin. As the AP writers, Uras Karmanov is in Lviv, Ukraine, Lolita C. Baldor in Washington, and Jill Lawless in London contributing to this report. Okay, so there's that. And then that's just crazy because it's what we need more of, like more rockets for the war. But it's not for the war. You know, you're crazy if you think they're going to use it against Russia on their own territory. So yeah, that happened. And I guess we could get to, let's see here. Let's see what's happening with Jean-Pierre at her wonderful job as White House Secretary. Let's check in on her real quick and see how she's doing. Sure, she's doing great. Let's see. This is from today. I have not heard it yet or read it. I'm going to skip to what I think will be Ukraine talk. I'm just taking a guess. Stab in the dark here.
Rose Garden, when he talked about his comprehensive gun reform, the executive actions.
All right, I'm going to skip again.
Meeting that's happening at the Summit of the Americas. Do you guys have a date on that, and are you going to raise concerns with Bolsonaro about his question?
I don't have anything to preview at this time on the Summit of Americas for you.
Oh, and I fucked up. Back to it. Eventually they'll talk about Ukraine.
Corinne, just to follow up on the baby formula meeting. So
Okay, they're talking about baby formula a lot. I think
email, you have my number. Feel
there's a lot of stuff about that
free
right
to
now.
reach out to me.
Inflation, it happened. Yellen came out, the fucking secretary, Treasury Secretary, and said, oops, I made a mistake. Shouldn't have minimized the inflation situation.
We will do everything that we...
But a resignation would be nice.
Just to follow up on the rest of the front row, who decided after 6 or 8 weeks?
You said that, hopefully the back row hears.
Who is the person in the West Wing who decided after 6 or 8 weeks that this baby formula shortage was finally something that somebody should tell the president about?
Look, again, I have to go back and talk to the president. I did not hear him take questions or answer any questions to all of you. And so I want to do my due diligence, right, as his spokesperson to make sure.
Okay. Could we stop talking about baby formula? That'd be great.
So here's the thing: we have achieved a. First of all, I explained to you what she was trying to say, so I just laid that out. So
what?
Those are your words, not my words. I just laid out what she was trying to say and tried to explain in fullness her part in her answer. We have achieved an historic recovery through an extraordinarily unprecedented economic moment. The president has consistently
She's reading
noted
again.
that the primary drivers.
Let's
of
see if she ever
inflation
stops reading. I doubt she does.
stay on February
She had
18th,
like
USDA.
an earpiece in the last video yesterday. Jean-Pierre is the new press secretary. Corinne Jean-Pierre. So she came in and she had something in her ear, and it was clear it was an earpiece. So somebody was telling her what to say. Pretty embarrassing.
Issued detailed guidance.
I really just want to know about Ukraine, dude.
Draft decision leaked on abortion rights. A lot of
Oh
folks
my gosh, where is it? Oh, we're back to abortion. Good to know.
And having regular meetings with groups out there who are focused on making sure that continues. The rights of women to choose continues. But I don't have anything to lay out.
The president just hasn't made this. He kind of laid the stakes out as this should be something.
Well, if we step back for a second, it was a draft. It was a SCOTUS draft. We spoke to it. We were very forceful about it. The president put out a statement. You've heard from the vice president. You've heard from other members of our team. So it's not like we didn't take this seriously, and we don't continue to take this seriously. So this is an important issue for the president. We know that. We know that for the American people. I just don't have anything to share with you on his schedule. Okay.
Thanks, Corinne. On Ukraine,
Finally,
the US
Ukraine.
has been really clear that it would not engage Russia directly because it did not want to escalate the conflict. But General Paul Nakasone, and I apologize if I mispronounced that, but who heads the U.S. Cyber Command, he reportedly told Sky News that the United States is engaged in offensive cyber activity against Russia. Can you talk about that? Why disclose that? That seems contrary to what the administration's position.
Look, as it relates to the Kremlin, to President Putin, we don't negotiate our security assistance packages to Ukraine with the Kremlin. They have not been pleased by the amount of security assistance we've been providing to the Ukrainians since far before this most recent phase
the government,
of conflict began. But we are doing what exactly the president said he would do, which is, and he told
proxy
President
war
Putin directly, we would do what we would do if he attacked Ukraine back in December, which is provide security assistance to the Ukrainians that is above and beyond what we were already providing to help Ukrainians defend their country. So that's exactly what we've done and will continue to do. Remember, and we say this all the time, this is Russia that chose to launch a brutal war that
they always
chose
say
to
that.
attack
You can say it over and over
Ukraine's,
again, but it still doesn't make it true.
Territorial integrity.
She can't even get through it.
This is
such bullshit.
Is Russia's war.
It's not Russia's war. It's your war.
They started
now.
this conflict, and
you're funding it.
They could choose to end it at any time.
You can end it at any time by not giving them weapons.
We maintain that deconfliction channels with the Russians for when necessary.
But just speaking specifically about the offensive cyber action being taken
Why
from
the fuck
the
are they
United
talking about
States
cyber right now?
against Russia. Is that not contrary to what the president has said in the past about not wanting to engage directly?
No, it's not. We don't see it as such.
Can you talk about why offensive cyber activity against Russia is not?
We just don't see it as such. We have talked about this before. We've had our cyber experts here at the podium lay out what our plan is that has not changed. So the answer is just simply no. Go ahead, Tyler.
Just following up on an inflation question. I understand you walked through what Secretary Yellen was talking about, but she still said that she was wrong then about the path inflation would take.
Hey, that's what we were talking about before.
Made similar statements saying that inflation would be temporary. Brian Deese was here yesterday. I asked him the same question. Does anyone in the White House have regrets about how they talked about inflation, given that it has turned out to do exactly what they said it would not do?
I mean, look, I laid out from if you look at the whole transcript, what it is that Secretary Yellen was trying to lay out when she was asked that question. She was pointing out that there have been shocks in the economy that have, again, exacerbated inflationary pressures, which could not have been foreseen 18 months ago. I mean, that is just a reality that we're working with.
And what all of his top aides said turned out not to be true and turned out not to happen. So I'm wondering if there's any sense within the White House that was a mistake to say so, given that it turned out to occur very differently.
Again, there were certain shocks to the economy that exacerbated the inflation pressures, right? So that includes Russia's decision to invade Ukraine, multiple successive variants of COVID, as I mentioned already, and the lockdowns in China. The president has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The twists and turns, again, as I've talked about, have been monumental events. And so, as the Secretary Yellen has also noted, there has been historic growth and record economic creation, and our goal is to do the transition, which is what Brian Deese was talking about, to make sure that it is steady and stable growth as inflation is brought down. So that there are things that have occurred that has been unprecedented in this past year or two, actually 3 years, and that's what we're speaking to.
I hear you on that.
Wow, they just will not let up.
Answer the question about whether inside the
Answer
White
the
House
question,
there is a feeling that there should be a concession like Johnny Yellen made yesterday on TV, that the way that the administration talked about inflation was not best suited to describe to the American people the economic pain that they would eventually be feeling as we continue to see prices rise.
I mean, look, the president is working, has said this over and over again. We have said this. We understand what the American people are going through. We understand the high cost that they're dealing with. We understand what inflation is doing to gas and to food prices. We have taken multiple actions, which the president explains himself in his own voice in the Wall Street Journal just a day ago. And so that has been our focus as well. And we're coming out of a very strong economic period. And so now we're going into a transition. There are things, as it relates to inflation, there are things that were not predictable 18 months ago, that were not predictable from day one. So we were speaking to them as we saw it at the time. And so that is also important to note. I mean, I know you're asking me that the question of, did we speak about it wrong, or did we, say, did we misspeak or not have it right at the time? I mean, this is what I'm trying to lay out, is that there are things that happened, the COVID variants, Russia's war in Ukraine, that was not predicted at the time.
Who could have predicted
what
it?
We're trying to do, what the president is trying to do, is do everything that he can to make sure that we deal and attack and fight inflation. So that is our focus at the time.
Just one last one.
Yeah.
I understand that you guys did not. I understand that you did not predict that, but there were many economists, Summers among others, who were very clear in warning about the risk.
Yep.
Okay, so if we have learned anything the past 2 years, it's that our globalized economy is tied to the world around us.
That's what we learned.
That's number one.
You're a liar.
again, the variants of COVID, lockdowns and slowdowns in foreign countries due to the pandemic, Putin's unprovoked invasion, Ukraine, each of these events impact prices here at home.
Stop saying the same shit.
It impacts the cost of food here at home, the supply
This is why people are very frustrated.
Abroad, the cost of gas here at home,
this government,
and supply of oil around the world. Inflation is also a global issue. Inflation in Europe increased a record 8.1% in May compared to last year. So that is how
it's a global issue with globalists in charge of creating it.
Go ahead.
Corinne, just two questions. First on baby formula. All of my colleagues' questions have basically gotten to the same point, which is people want to know who in this building knew what when.
Ooh, they are not letting up on this. This is a juicy one.
You've said that
we've been watching this for over 8 minutes. I've been listening to this for over 8 minutes, and you've been listening to it for over 8 minutes.
Said that you don't have that time frame.
No, I said I don't. They were asking me specifically.
I didn't expect to have so much of this,
and I just don't have that time frame to share. What I can say is the White House began working on this from the first day of the recall, from day one of the recall, which was back in February.
Are you able to provide, or
but not publicly,
providing a timeline of who knew what when?
I mean, that's the same question that MJ just asked me, and I answered that question to her. I have laid down what has happened since the recall, which was on February 17th. I've laid that down. I talked about on February 18th with the USDA. I talked about WIC programs. I've laid down what happened, but not reminding folks what happened with Abbott in this factory, why we got here, and I've also talked about what the
Abbott,
FDA
which
has
produces
said that they're going to do, and they talked about
COVID
that
tests,
last week, which is look into this, make sure that we get to a place that we get to the bottom of what happened.
I'm going to end this at 50 minutes
action report.
because that's
when
10 minutes,
action report,
and I just don't want to spend more than 10 minutes on any video. And that will come
directly from them and what they did and what they see could be done better. So that's the thing that's really important. There will be an after action report. We will be able to see exactly what happened from their standpoint. Again, we have been working on this since the first day of the recall on February 17th. That is our involvement here with the White House and FDA and what we've been trying to do.
Okay, speaking of the FDA, well, I don't want to get into that too much, but basically, yeah, so that's the news for May. It's late as fuck. I apologize. I haven't been late in a while, but it's only because of the trial. See how I managed to rhyme that? I am an artist. Look at me. Hey, hey. So, anyway, what we've learned today is that Nazis in Ukraine need our money yet again. 700 million. And they need rockets. And we're never going to see any destruction in Russia in the coming days. No, no, no. In the next month, there will be nothing to worry about. I will have no new news on that front at all for you. I am very confident that Ukraine is just going to use those for defensive reasons, for sure. I am very confident in that fact. And also, you know what? Justice works in some cases and sometimes it doesn't because the jury is important. We need a jury of your peers who are not biased. That is so important. And rigged trials happen when there's politics involved. It's amazing, but it's true. Ray Liotta died. Shout out to his family. At least he was never Me Too'd. So there's that. Some other people died. Shout out to everybody who's lost a family member or a friend. Shout out to all the people grieving. I love you and I support you. And I have grieved myself. And it's a part of life. We have to move on eventually. Also, I wanted to say that in other news, in entertainment news, and dystopia news, I watched 2 dystopian films this past week. One of which was Soylent Green, which I had never seen the whole thing of. I had only seen the ending, so I knew the ending. I knew the exact ending. So it's kind of weird watching something where you know exactly what happens at the very end. But that's what happened. I found that the mystery was not really there throughout the film. I thought it was beautiful. I thought the music was excellent, and Saul was a very interesting character if you've seen it. And I didn't know there would be so many horrors, but there were, so that's cool. Or furniture, as they're called in this world. In 2022, mind you, in New York, in a very overpopulated New York. It's always overpopulated, isn't it? Always overpopulated. There's always a disease or something beforehand, too, before these dystopian films. So I watched that. I thought it was alright. Not my favorite dystopian film. Good ideas. Wasn't executed the way I wanted it to be. But whatever. Then I watched Dark City. The first one was 1973, Soylent Green. And then the second movie was 1998, which was Dark City. Dark City. I have so much love for that film. It is such a masterpiece. My only thing is, I'm really weird about this. If I'm in a movie already, I don't want to come out of it unless there's a damn good reason. And you come out of the movie in the very beginning for the credits, which are very quick. I would prefer a longer credit sequence if you're going to get into the credits and go old school and, have that weird spirally kind of vibe to it. I loved that. I just wanted more of it or none of it. You know what I mean? So that was my issue with the film. It was addressed early on, and then the cinematography was amazing. The visual effects were amazing. Everything was amazing. Set direction, art direction. Really, 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 really reminded me of Metropolis, which I enjoyed very recently, from way back when. And Fritz Lang. And so I felt that Metropolis idea, that like the vibe was there, and the set direction reminded me of that, the production design. So I was just very enamored of this film. I thought it was very good. Rufus Sewell, always good, but really exceptional here. Kiefer Sutherland's probably best performance that I've seen so far in his career, which isn't that much, so take of that what you will. Jennifer Connelly was in it. She didn't really move the needle at all, but she was good for what she's given. So it's like, it's confusing what you're given. Like, you're not given a whole character in this film, so it's awkward. But I really enjoyed that movie a lot, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, and I think you should watch it if you get the chance for free. I watch it for free. I'm not going to pay for anything. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I probably can't believe I'm saying that, but Matrix came out the next year, right? So I would say probably I would enjoy. I have enjoyed watching Dark City more than I enjoyed watching The Matrix. But I enjoyed participating in The Matrix. Would I ever do like a play or something of Dark City? Hell yeah, I probably would. And would I think it would be better than the play of The Matrix? I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully I could do that at some time in the future. That would be really fun to do for the show. Dark City. Yeah. So look out for that if I get around to it at the end of the year, as usual. But yeah, that's where I'm at on the movies. Those are the two movies that I've seen that are dystopian. I saw another movie which was called Freaky. It was originally supposed to be titled Freaky Friday the 13th. My issue with that movie is that it didn't set up the characters well enough for me and transform them. It's like a Freaky Friday situation, but it's like Friday the 13th. It's a joke, like horror movie, kind of like serial killer body switch thing with a teenage girl. And I thought Vince Vaughn was very good in it. Obviously, he plays the teenage girl's body. I mean, he plays the vessel for the teenage girl, which is the serial killer. I just wish I knew a little more about the serial killer, or less. Like, at this point, I learned enough about him that I still wonder about him. So I would have liked to have known nothing more about him than I did, or than I wanted. It's just picky. I'm picky. And I also felt like the scenes, there was not as much life in them as I thought there should be. But it felt very, somebody said it was like a first draft script. I mean, I wouldn't say first draft, maybe second, third, not second, maybe like fourth draft. Just need another rewrite, that's all. And then the editing needed to be tighter, and screenwriting just wasn't quite there in the dialogue. I don't know, I just was very, not disappointed, because I liked Happy Death Day in that series, and that was the last movie, by the way, that I saw, that I paid for to watch, was Happy Death Day 2, I believe, which was the sequel. So I thought this was good, but I did not enjoy the character of Millie like I enjoyed the character of Tree in Happy Death Day. So if it were Tree versus Millie, I go with Tree, because I like Tree. And I learned more about Tree in the first movie than I learned about Millie in this movie. So that's how I feel about it. Basically, that's it. Those are the movie reviews. Watching TV shit, but nothing to really write home about. Watched Heartstopper, it was kind of boring. I didn't watch all of it, I'm not gonna lie. I skipped a lot of it, but watched the important parts with the love story and everything. It's just so meh. Also, another thing I have to say about Freaky is that it felt like a Netflix movie, which is not a good thing. That's not a compliment. Like a Netflix kind of, like it could be on Netflix, it could be original Netflix teen drama horror comedy thing. Didn't enjoy that. It felt a little too, oh, look how woke we are. I'm just joking. I don't know. Just one of those things. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. The 6 of you that did. No, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Yeah. So, trial. Ukraine, Nazis, COVID. Lots of stuff happened. But we move on. We learn to live life to the fullest. And treat every day like your last, because you never know when it will be. And your luck will only last as long as you are on this planet. We will not be on this planet forever. This planet will not take us to the oblivion. We'll probably end up in oblivion before the planet, just so you know. That's a really good way to end. WEF 2022, check out the videos. Check out the video of the, going over that from Fearlessly Authentic, which I'll link below. Thank you again for listening, and have a great weekend coming up. It's not really here yet, but have a good one when you get there. And have a good June. Don't get too hot. Don't get too cold if you're in a cold place. Love you, bye!